Okay, let me start this off by saying what this video is not. This is not a video going over every job in the game. There are plenty of videos that describe every job in the game way better than I ever could. Plus, this video would be outdated very soon. Instead, this is a video for people who are struggling to pick a main job, even after watching content on the jobs and maybe trying some of them out. And let's also get this out of the way. No, you don't need a main job, especially if you're not high-end rating, since your character can swap between every job in the game freely. There's no need to purely stick to one job in Final Fantasy XIV. But some people, including me, find it fun to dig really deep into just one job and learn everything about it, and then just play other jobs on the side for fun. So how exactly does one go about picking your main job in Final Fantasy XIV? Well, there are many ways of doing it. Some people just pick the job they think is the coolest and roll with that. Others may come from other MMOs and pick the job that they think is closest to the class that they played in their previous MMO. And if doing something like that works for you, awesome, keep playing that job. But what if the job that appealed to you aesthetically just wasn't fun for you? Or it was too confusing, or it just simply didn't click. So now you're stuck at square zero, trying to find a job that you can actually connect with and have fun. So if all that stuff did not work for you, then I'm going to tell you my advice as somebody who loves my main job, Machinist. And honestly, I think this advice can apply to any online game that you play. So here is the advice. You should pick your main job based on what you value. Now I know that might sound weird to you, but let me explain. Let's say you are somebody who loves to run around the battlefield and not feel restricted at all in your movement. Well then, maybe one of the physical range jobs is for you. Maybe you value being the leader of the party, or at the very least you like setting the pace of dungeons. Well, maybe tanking is for you. Or let's say you don't care too much about doing crazy optimal damage rotations, and instead you'd rather manage the party. Then maybe try out healer. And this just doesn't go for roles. You could apply this to specific jobs as well. For example, in one hypothetical scenario, you are somebody who loves to play everything. You tried out every role in the game. You liked the close combat of melee jobs, but you also liked the range combat, and you even liked healing. So you kind of value being the jack of all trades. Then in that case, I would recommend Red Mage. You have a close and far-ranged rotation, and you can even heal and revive people. Sure, you aren't tanking, and you aren't the main healer of the group, but this job is probably as close you are going to get to being able to do everything. In another example, you could be someone who values being at the top of the DPS chart. Then you should probably play a selfish melee DPS job, or Pictomancer, I think? I actually don't know which job is doing the most damage right now, but if you like big damage, then maybe go with that job. Anyway, I am not going to single-handedly go over every single value a person can have in this game, but I will give a brief description of my experience of landing on Machinist as my main job. When I got to the end of A Realm Reborn, I realized I didn't really like Ninja because it was too complicated for me at the time. So I wanted something more simple and easy. A job where I could just press buttons and just do a decent amount of damage. Nothing more complicated than that. And playing Ninja, a melee job, I didn't like how I had to stick to the enemy to do optimal damage. Because man, I am trying to avoid the orange puddles, not soak them up. So I did some research and found a list of jobs that were beginner friendly, and I found that Machinist was exactly what I was looking for. Sure, I could have picked Summoner, which is arguably an even easier job than Machinist, but at the time, Summoner had two spells that I had to stop and hard cast, which goes with what I mentioned earlier. I didn't like having to be next to the enemy to do damage, so I knew I valued freedom of movement, and that's why I knew ahead of time I wouldn't like having to stand still to hard cast a spell. And that's basically it. If you want to hear the rest of my Machinist story, you can check out this video here, but as I'm sure you've noticed from that story, I had more than one thing that I valued from my job, which I think is completely normal, and in fact could actually help you narrow down which job is for you. Now at this point in the video, you might be saying to yourself, at least I hope you're saying this, that's great Argun, but how exactly does this help me find the right job for me? Well, if you agree with the premise that I laid out so far, I'll give you a 3-step process that you can do to hopefully find the job that fits you like a glove. Step 1, I want you to play the game. No, seriously, just pick a job that you think you'll like and play the game. So obviously this step is mostly for new players, but I think it is important to just get in the game and get a handle on the mechanics and the game feel, and also see how you like that initial job. Then once you feel like you got a handle on the game, ask yourself things like, am I having fun with my current job? Do I want to stay with this job? If not, why? What do I like about this job? If I had to change anything about this job, what would it be? Etc, etc. You can even write down the answers to these questions if you want. These answers will help guide you to finding out what you value the most in the game. Also, feel free to take as long as you want on this step, because it took me all the way until the end of A Realm Reborn to figure this stuff out. Plus, a lot, if not most of the jobs in this game either need you to progress the main story or become a much higher level. And trust me, just finishing A Realm Reborn is a tip of this Final Fantasy XIV iceberg. But now we're moving on to step 2. I want you to do some research. This is where I think those job guides and videos become really helpful. Watch them while taking note of the answers that you gave in the previous step. Cross some jobs off the list that you think don't align with your answers, and then pick the ones that you think could be what you're looking for. Then, leading into step 3, try out the jobs you think align with your values. Now, there's really nothing left to do besides try out those jobs that you think you'll have the most fun with, if you have those jobs available. And if not, maybe try an adjacent job to it. But if it turns out that you don't like any of those jobs, that's totally fine. Just start back from step 1. Ask yourself why you didn't like that particular job and then go from there. However, if you did like one of the jobs you tested out, congratulations. Keep going with the job until you fully fall in love with it, or you feel like moving on. Which is also another thing, as you progress through the game, you might feel that your values have changed. Or say the latest patch comes out and the devs decided to make changes to your job that you don't like. Or maybe as you get better at the game, what you want out of your job changes. Or, you know, your raid leader might want you to switch jobs. Whichever one comes first. No matter what, you can always drop a job for another one. I mean, if you're a raider, the gearing makes it a bit more complicated, but that's a topic for another day. Unless it changes in future patches. Now, this is just my 3-step process that I basically just came up with right now. But this is what I do with almost every online multiplayer game I play. And that's the thing too. I would also apply this to other games as well. Marvel Rivals, World of Warcraft, Street Fighter. You can play those games, see what you value in their combat, and take it from there. So if you're watching this video and didn't really find this helpful for Final Fantasy XIV specifically, well then maybe apply this method or line of thinking to other games you play. And not to mention, I think some of your values that you find in one game can carry over to another game. For example, in Marvel Rivals, I main Mantis and Scarlet Witch, because, just like Machinist, they're pretty easy characters to play. Now, some people might just say that they play the character or job that they think looks cool or hot, which is totally fine. In fact, I think that just shows you value aesthetics over everything else, and that's a totally valid way to pick a main. But anyway, I think that's all the advice I have on this topic, so that's the end of the video. I hope this video helps anybody who is having trouble focusing on just one job. Of course, there's nothing wrong with playing multiple jobs, but sometimes some people only want to mostly just play one job, you know? Man, I hope this video makes sense. I don't know, this video made sense to me, but I never know what the internet is going to think. Also, I wrote and recorded this video before FanFest, so I had no idea we were about to get evolved mode. So I don't necessarily know if that makes this video more relevant or more irrelevant. It probably makes it more relevant because jobs are going to change in the future, and probably people should know like what they like about their jobs. Because who knows, what you like in your current job might not carry over to evolved mode. And one last thing, I'm sorry that this video took forever to come out. Me and my family are currently in the process of moving, and will probably be within that process for the good majority of the rest of the year. But I promise you guys that I'm trying to make as much content as I can. So like and subscribe for those future Final Fantasy XIV commentary, analysis, and discussion videos. This is not Argon, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.